Good evening, early birds. We'll start in about 35 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever. Making sure that Facebook behaves. So I go on early. We go on early, Darren Smith and I. Stuff. Okay, good evening. It's 7 o'clock here in the northeast of the United States, and this is the Tibet Center. Kunchab Tarduling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey, under the spiritual direction of His Eminence Chabje Ling Rinpoche, and also under direction, both spiritually and materially, of Rato Kensur, Thupten Lunda, also known as Nicholas Vreeland, Geshe Nicky Vreeland. So, any problems with the picture, the sound, etc., please let me and Darren Smith know or Darren Smith or Darren Smith know right away. The prayers we say are all on the Tibet Center website, except for 8 verses on training the mind that's being put on there. That's what I'm told. I have to check again. If there's anyone for whom you want us to pray for us passed away recently, place their names in the chat box as soon as possible, and then we'll all get their names. I don't see all the names, so I may not read them all off. There's a smaller section here, but you've seen them. So, Bula Bula, good evening, everyone. Bula Bula Aradna, which is a Polynesian greeting, I'm told. A Fiji Island greeting, excuse me. Let me be specific. Anyway, we'll start, as we usually do, with prayer for the spreading of the teachings. Tonight, we'll mostly have very little Lamrim because we're almost at the end of the chapter. And do not forget, tonight His Holiness Dalai Lama is on at 9:30 New York time. Adjust to that. The Jataka Tales. I always go on about 15, 20 minutes earlier because they seem to start earlier. And it's the way it is. The Jataka Tales tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night are the 2 parts of the Haruka or Chakra Samvara initiation empowerment. Very important. So Wednesday night will probably go light also, so you don't get too taxed mentally if you're going to watch both this presentation and also His Holiness's final day of initiation. That's the actual empowerment. The first day of the Tuesday night is the prep. It'll say so, and they'll give you enough instructions. Enough. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious 3 precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West, for all the people living here together with their near ones who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the 5 skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the 5 skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, There is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayat Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva, mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good. O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. Refuge and Bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings, which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy, be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjagosha, through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and I prostrate to my spiritual masters, through whose kindness I develop. I get ahead of myself. Further, as a cause for the swift return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche, His Holiness has composed this prayer for a swift return. Of course, it's on the website. As a cause. Everything is caused, and then you get the results. That's the way it works. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lozang Tubuang Dorje Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet, you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Lozang Tenpe. magnificent truth of the three precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Sri Mata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So tonight we have a variety of things. I think you'll like them. If you don't, complain. Everyone does. We're going to go back to the old days. Yes, not to the 90s or the 80s, no. The Kadampa era, from the book of Kadam, translated by George Santos. No, he claims to have translated. It was actually done by Thupten Jinpa. Wonderful book. We get some advice from Atisha. In general, I think you'll like it. It's pretty straightforward, very inspirational, which is what we can always use. You know, sometimes the thicker parts of the teachings are, you know, tough for us. But here, these are different stories. Page 562 of this book of Kadam. The Kadampas, as you know, essential, famous for the mind training teachings and for cutting things down to their basics, getting down to business. Once, when Master Atisha was residing in Nyetang, I'm probably pronouncing Tibetan terribly, but that's the way it is. The three teachers, Shang Nachung Tonpa, Jura Tonpa, and Leitzang Tonpa, Tonpa means of Ton probably, so they're all from the same place, asked him about the tenets of the Indian logico-epistemological schools. Yeah, what about these tenets, Atisha? Atisha said, there are many philosophical systems of both non-Buddhist and Buddhist schools, all of which are but garlands of conceptualization. Conceptualizations are beyond calculation, and they have no use. There's so many of them. They do, but he's making a point. As there is no time to spare in life, now is the time to seek what is most essential. You see how they get down to the point. Shangna Chung Tumpa then asked, how does one seek what is most essential? Atisha replied, train your mind to cultivate loving kindness and compassion toward all sentient beings who equal the expanse of space. For their sake, strive to gather the two accumulations, merit and wisdom, and dedicate all roots of virtue that arise from this towards the full enlightenment of all sentient beings. Be sure that you recognize the nature of all of these as empty and their characteristics as being like dreams and illusion. A whole path in 6 lines. The main point, your motivation, is key, and it must be bodhicitta motivation. You don't have it, fake it, as the jazz musician told the cab driver. I don't know where the vanguard is, fake it. It's very important that motivation of bodhicitta will carry us. We may not be able to understand a lot of the concepts yet, but as long as our motivation is clean, our hearts are pure, we're in good shape. This life, next life, next life. So now, here's a bit longer of a statement, page 562 again, it starts. When Master Atisha first visited Nari, Ngari, he lived there for 2 years. There he gave many essential instructions to those headed by La Jangchup U. Remember, his uncle Yeshe U was the one that was the king of the area that wanted to bring Atisha and then was captured. And they wanted a ransom, and they gave him a ransom to set him free. But then, no, we want his weight, including the weight of his head in gold. Bring it here. So Yeshe U said to his nephew, Jangchup U, who survived, don't mind me. I lived a good life. I met the Dharma. Take this money, bring it to Atisha, and tell him that I gave my life up for this. Please come to Tibet. Very touching story. And Atisha came to Tibet, and as a result, we are practicing the complete Buddhist path right now. He reformed the Buddhism in Tibet, of course. Padmasambhava was there and brought it there. Shankaraksita was wonderful. Then it declined, and Atisha came. And as soon as he got there, like 100 years later, it disappeared in India. Buddhism, for the most part, was wiped out in India. So it's very important. That king's sacrifice of his life still echoes down today. So once he was intending to return to India, and he was about to take to the road. He died in Tibet, so he never went. La Jangchupo once again requested personal advice. When Atisha responded that what he had already been given in the past should suffice, La persisted with his plea. He's very persistent. The master then gave the following instruction, and this is Atisha talking now. Look how humble he is. I mean, he's the Prince of Creation. Whatever. Here he is saying, O friend, whose knowledge is high and whose mind is utterly clear, though it is inappropriate for me, one of low intelligence and lacking in accomplishments, to offer any advice, as you, my excellent friend, who is so dear to my heart, have exhorted me, I, a childlike one with small intelligence, offer this suggestion to your heart, my friend. Oh. Someone like Chungla Rinpoche, Zapatra Rinpoche, very humble. His next verse, now he teaches. As one requires a teacher until the attainment of enlightenment, rely on a sublime teacher, O friend. As one requires learning until the ultimate mode of being is realized, listen to your teacher's essential instructions. As the mere knowledge of the teachings does not lead to full enlightenment, put it into practice, for knowing alone is inadequate. You can know these things. I studied this with so-and-so, I got that, I got this text, I read it all. Did you put it into practice? Have you changed your being? That's his point. Key point of the whole poem. He continues, distance yourself from those objects that afflict your mind and always reside in places that increase virtue. Until you're an accomplished yogi, you got to avoid things that distract you because you don't have the power to not come under their influence yet. Eventually, you have to go there and where the people are suffering most and help them. As distractions cause harm until one has attained stability, seek solitary forests. Forsake friends who give rise to affliction, and seek those who enhance virtue and respect their wishes. A good Sangha community. As there is no end to mundane chores, discard them and abide with natural ease. And I would say as much as you can, you got to make a living. Throughout the day and night, dedicate your virtues and always guard your mind. As you've received essential instructions, whatever you do, be it meditation or other activities, do so in accordance with your teacher's words. If you pursue this with great respect, you will reap its fruits before long. Proper cause, you'll get the result. If you act in accord with the Dharma from your heart, both provisions and support will be attained as byproducts. O friends, sensual desires are insatiable like drinking salt water. Therefore, cultivate contentment. Another big point psychologically. If you're content, you're not running after this or that. And contentment should be rest on not sensual things, things that come through the senses, or monetary, status or whatever. It's not good contentment. It's not. Despite all thoughts of haughtiness, despise rather. I always say that. Despise all. I read this 3 times before, and I still misread it. God. Despise all thoughts of haughtiness, conceit, and arrogance, and be tranquil and tamed. As distracting pursuits referred to as, quote, merits, are obstacles to Dharma practice, relinquish them. The show of merit, not the real merit. As offerings and honor are Mara's lasso, measure them carefully like the weights of a scale. Someone's giving you offerings, etc. Be careful. Mara is one of the 4 evils of we can't say devils, not exactly. Measure them carefully like the weights of a scale. As words of praise and fame are tricksters, cast them out like spit or snot. Praise won't help you live longer. You can't eat it. It will make you warm. Useless. Don't get attached to it. Fame, just even worse. Though today happiness, good fortune, and friends may have converged, since this is only momentary, leave them behind. Since the future is longer than the present, obviously, hide well your resources and treasure as provisions for the future. He means your mental resources. As you must depart by leaving everything behind, there is no use for anything, so do not cling to nothing. So do cling rather to nothing. So do cling to nothing. Cultivate compassion toward the weak and abandon mocking and disparaging them. Have no prejudice of clinging to and recoiling from the classes of friends and enemies. Have no jealousy toward the learned ones, but respect them and receive knowledge from them. Do not scrutinize others' faults, but probe your own and discard them like poisoned blood. Think not of your virtues, but of others, and like a servant, show respect for all. Cultivate recognition of all beings as your parents and love them as if they were your own children. With a smiling face and loving heart, always speak what is true without hostility. Since excessive pointless conversations cause confusion, engage in appropriate measures of speech. Since excessive pointless chores disrupt your virtuous deeds, discard non-dharma pursuits. Do not strive too hard in meaningless pursuits, for this is wasteful hardship. Come what may, do not die with attachment, since the other shore is born of karma. It is better to rest your mind at ease. That's a big one. Come what may, do not die with attachment, since the other shore is born of karma, your intention. Karma's intention. It is better to rest your mind at ease. Alas, if you become despised by the sublime beings, you are as good as dead. So be honest, not deceitful. Since the suffering of this life since the sufferings of this life arise from past karma, do not blame others. So you can take that off your list of things, do blaming others. Again, we created our own reality. Play it out. Since all happiness is the teacher's blessings, repay their kindness. Since you cannot tame others' minds while your own mind remains untamed, first discipline your own mind. Since you cannot enhance others if you lack superior cognition, strive well in your meditative practice. Since you are certain to depart, leaving your accumulated wealth behind, commit no negative karma for its sake. I wish everyone in the world would hear that and would believe in the next life too. Anyway, since this wealth of distractions is without essence, give charity adorned with gifts. Since it beautifies this life and leads to happiness in the future, always observe pure ethical discipline. He's running through the 6 perfections, thinking it, giving his ethics. Since hatred proliferates in the degenerate age, put on the armor of forbearance, free of anger. Forbearance equals patience. Since you might be left behind because of laziness, ignite the flame of joyful perseverance like a blazing fire. Since it is on the road of distraction that one exhausts one's lifespan, the time has now come for the endeavor of concentration. Due to wrong views, one fails to realize the ultimate mode of being, so inspect well the perfect truth, the wisdom component of the 6 perfections. Oh, friends, there is no joy in this mire of samsara, so depart to liberation's dry shore. That's draining the swamp, huh? Practice well the teacher's instructions and drain the lake of samsara's suffering. I could see the Baptist preachers banging the LAM rim on this one when Buddhism comes to the United States fully. I can't wait. Last verse. Keep this advice well in your hearts and listen to this suggestion, for this is not mere mouthing of words. If you do this, I'll be happy, and both you and others will enjoy happiness. Oh, listen well, dear friend, to these words of advice from an ignorant man. It's a teacher talking. Thus the master teacher, the soul lord, advised Tsong-kha-pa, Chang-chuk-u. It's O with an umlaut, and I heard Tibet Jinpa pronounce it something like U. Amazing. A little bit more of advice from someone called Karakpa. I could find it. Or maybe we don't have the time for them. Let's see. Oh, here it is. I have it. There's a set of, he has the list of things, set of 6, set of 5. These are 7 things that are useless. This is on page 608 of the book of Kadam. It dates from the 1100s also. Known as Karakpa, I think it's Karakgongchong. Karakgongchong, also known as Karakpa. What are the 7 useless things? Number 1, you may have taken all the vows from going for refuge to the secret mantra, but if you fail to avert your thoughts from worldly norms, this is useless. I love this. 2, you may regularly give teachings to others, but if your vanity is not pacified, this is useless. You might show progress, but if you lose the entry-level practice of going for refuge, this is useless. You might strive in virtuous activities day and night, But if they are not reinforced by the awakening mind, bodhicitta, this is useless. He's tough. Tough marker, this guy. 5. You may define the imputed nature, the dependent nature, and so on. But if you fail to recognize things as illusion like, this is useless. In other words, you just know the names and you haven't lived it. 6. You might know the 3 baskets of scriptures, but if you lack admiration and respect for your teachers, this is useless. And 7th and last, you may meditate on emptiness, but if this does not become an antidote against the afflictions, this is useless. Very good. Again, see how practical they are. Put it into practice. Make it happen. And you'll be happier. So now I'm checking the time. I'm sorry to be a pest, checking the time all the time. Try to stay on schedule. Again, don't forget His Holiness tonight, 9:30 New York time, or a little earlier. We were reading last time from Searching for the Self, the volume 7 in this Wisdom and Compassion series written by the Dalai Lama. Tipton Chodron explained how this was done. He wrote this, she said, and I edited and changed the word. She's probably humble too, but the two of them, wow. This is a wonderful collection of books. This is, we're discussing the objects of negation on we ended on page 164. This is what we're going to study in the LAM, and this is like a good prep for it. It's good to get used to the term. So object of negation is not something you use all the time, but what do you got to get rid of? Something like that. What do you have to prove is not there? So this is page 164, the bottom. Why is it important to correctly identify the object of negation? Why do you have to zero in the precise thing to get rid of, to get out of some self? Of course, it's important. Correctly identifying the object of negation by reasoning is essential for our meditation on emptiness to be effective. Do the prep work with reasoning. Shantideva affirms in his 9th chapter, verse 139, the first 2 lines, without having identified the object of negation that is imputed, imagine, placed there when it's not there at all, the absence of that object cannot be apprehended. So you got to know what it is that's there, that you imagine is there, and then get rid of it. Apprehend it so that you can get rid of it, know where you're going wrong. The word emptiness in Buddhism, His Holiness continues, page 165, the word emptiness in Buddhism designates something completely different from the world's ordinary meaning. The emptiness is not like the emptiness of our stomach or the emptiness of our bank account. It is a mode of existence that is the absence of incorrect ways of existence. That ignorance projects on persons and phenomena. In the context of the Prasangika, the highest school interpretation of emptiness, this is inherent existence, which is synonymous with existence by its own characteristics, existence from its own side, and so on. Just sitting there, static, having no connection to our minds that bring it to life. No, that's not the way it is. So, the first step is in refuting inherent existence, to have an idea of what it would be like if in fact it existed. What it would be like. What would it be like? Okay. This process is called identifying the object of negation. For example, to expel a thief from your house, you must first know what he or she looks like. You, lawyer, could be, possible. Salesperson, possible. Even great masters such as Tsong-kha-pa initially had difficulty in identifying the subtlest object of negation. A big point, because we're going to spend a lot of time in the next chapters with the LAM about this one thinks this way, this one thinks that way. It's kind of tricky. You have to really finesse the meaning. His early writings, Tsong-kha-pa, The Golden Rosary, like Shea Seraph-Trang, show that, like many of the early Tibetan Buddhists, he believed that since nothing can be found when analyzed with reasoning, nothing exists conventionally. He thought that way. So what are we doing? He thought that sages assert dependent arising in conventionalities only when talking to others. That is, discussion of conventionalities is done for the sake of others, not because oneself asserts their existence. That's a strange conclusion, but I guess we will do the same. We haven't gotten to that point where we make that mistake. You have to be pretty educated to make that mistake. Pardon me. I must have my espresso. By asking questions to Manjushri directly, he had a vision of Manjushri like you would talk to someone, at the bus station, someone direct, not through at first through a medium, and then finally direct, just like you would talk to Rinpoche. So it's like I'm talking to you now. So I clicked in my mind, maybe he's Manjushri. I got even more scared and nervous, and that's what he was saying. By asking questions to Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, Tsong-kha-pa later saw the error in that view. In the three principal aspects of the path, he emphasized that if we think emptiness is an independent absolute truth such that dependent arising and emptiness are incompatible, then we have not understood emptiness correctly. As long as dependent arising and emptiness are seen as alternating realities that do not converge, we lack the correct view. Identifying the object of negation, inherent existence, is a subtle process that takes time, especially since conventionally existent phenomena and inherent existence appear to us completely mixed. And here's a big key. Well, this is conventional, that's conventional. It is and it isn't. What we really see is inherent existence mixed with mere conventionalities. The inherent existence is captivating us because that's why we act certain ways. So they're mixed, which implies that we have to do some serious extracting. Just like, gold in the ground is mixed with other junk you extract to get the pure gold. Same thing. So it's not that easy. That's why it's well worth sussing it out carefully, the instructions, going over them, not just expecting an experience of emptiness to dawn on you. You just sit there quietly. Maybe one in a billion that it happens to because you prepped in your past life, but most likely not. So they appear completely mixed. So we have to be careful. We say, oh, this is conventional, let's be careful. So teasing these apart, and a nice use of word, teasing these apart is delicate. It is easy to veer toward negating too much or not negating enough. Tsong-kha-pa reminds us, this is a quote from the LAM now, a few chapters ahead. Just as, for example, to ascertain that a certain person is not here, you must know the person who is not here, or what they look like, whatever. So in order to ascertain the meaning of selflessness and lack of inherent nature, you must also identify well that self and nature that do not exist. You have to know what they're talking about, what they're indicating. This is because if the conceptual appearance of that which is to be negated does not appear well, a good idea of it, in other words, then also the negative of that will not be unmistakably ascertained. If it existed, it would be exactly like this. So then no, nothing like this exists. The negative of it is proved. No, I don't see something like that. I don't see this. I don't see a guy with a red hat who committed the crime in this room. The police said looking for a guy with a red hat or a red shirt. No. So he's not here. Wherever he is, we don't know. Definitely not here. Something like that. You got the idea? So thus, you really have to come to a good, clear idea of what it is. It can't be fuzzy. It can't be mixed with your assumptions sitting there and reading, because we tend to do that. When we read a text, mainly a lot of our assumptions are glossing over the real meaning. So you go back and back and back again. As His Holiness said, you read it 9 times, you get 9 meanings. Probably each one better than the one before. Again, on page 166, to catch a terrorist, we have to know what he looks like. If we have no idea whether he is tall or short, fat or thin, our efforts to locate him will not bring any results. Similarly, if we have no conceptual image of what inherent existence would be like, it will be hard to tell it does not exist. Common sense, that's good. Of course, we could say the words, there's no inherent existence, impressing people at the table. Right, I don't think so. There is no inherent existence, but that would be like saying there is no terrorist here when the terrorist is standing next to us, but we don't recognize him. Well said. I love this stuff. If we refute too much or not enough, if we negate the wrong object, or if we remain in blank-minded meditation, our efforts will not bring the desired result of liberation or awakening. We're playing with serious things here, playing for keeps here. For this reason, Proper identification of the object of negation is crucial. So he made his point. Why is it crucial? That's why. Tsong-kha-pa Dorje, a sage from eastern Tibet, and he gives his dates 1717 to 1786, says that some dialecticians, people skilled in philosophical debate, insist on consistency and are obsessed with giving a rational account of everything. They claim to be intelligent scholars and good practitioners, but they leave intact the solidity of what they perceive in front of them. They leave intact the solidity of what they perceive in front of them. In other words, they're perceiving an objective reality. They think that the object of negation is something external that can be identified without questioning the way the I appears in the everyday functioning of the ignorant mind. It's right inside you. Oh, this is a new thing now. It's not the outside world only we're concerned with. How does this I appear to us that we motivate ourselves with every minute of the day? It appears wrong. It causes us to hate, to be overly attracted, to be ignorant. That's what, and to not prevents us from being fully evolved to our Buddha nature. So there's the enemy, the I, the inherently existent I. We think that's there. I'll repeat it again, they think the object of negation is something external that can be identified without questioning the way the I appears in the everyday functioning of the ignorant mind. It seems as if they are negating something with horns that is completely unrelated to their own apprehension of I. This is because they haven't correctly identified the inherent existence that appears to them in their daily perceptions and thoughts as being the object of negation. It's not just how you see things, it's the act of seeing with his corrupted eye, something like that. I'm making it worse. Just listen to what he said. It's better than listen to me. You got the idea, though. So Tsong-kha says, and here's his poem about the topic. Among today's thinkers, there seem to be some caught in the web of words, self-substantial, ontologically real, and so on. They only invent monsters with horns to negate, leaving intact our vivid, coarse, apparent world. So at the top of 167, now very important, he's going to explain all this nicely. It is crucial to recognize that the solid, concrete, objective reality of an object appearing to us is the very object of negation, whether the object appearing is something you see or the way or the I that you think of, that appears to your mind. I'll say it again. It is crucial to recognize that the solid, concrete, objective reality of an object appearing to us is the very object of negation. Doing this can be unnerving because it involves challenging our everyday habitual perceptions. The object of negation must be tied to the way we see ourselves. If it isn't, negating an inherently existent I won't have any effect on us. It's not like we're watching TV and this is it. Serious. Ooh. When our meditation on emptiness is successful, we discover that how we have been thinking of ourselves and all of the phenomena from beginningless time until now has been completely wrong. This is a real revolution. You want revolution? You say you want revolution? The song is, well, you got it now. Coming from the Buddha. We do not exist in the way we thought we did. Put it that way. Okay? So be prepared. You're going to get, this is the task. At that time, it's almost as if we are no longer able to posit the self. Both feet planted firmly in midair. What someone said, it's like we're free falling through space. But the good news is there's no ground. It seems as if things barely exist, that they do not have their own essence, but exist dependently like illusions. So what's wrong with that? In other words, the contrast between what we were going along all these billions and trillions of eons and suddenly what's happening. Amazing. Nagarjuna, we're on page 167 still. Nagarjuna identifies emptiness as the meaning of dependent arising. Here we come again with the slogan, can't be repeated too much. thus pointing out the necessity of not only negating inherent existence, but also establishing dependently arising conventional truths, but not mixed with the idea of intrinsic reality. Conventionalities as conventionalities, not mixed with inherent existence. In other words, the object of negation is not all existence whatsoever, only inherent existence. He's fleshing out the meaning of what we've been yakking about in the LAM. In other words, the object of negation is not all existence whatsoever, only inherent existence. In the case of persons, the I exists in dependence on the body and mind. This I meditates, eats, creates karma, and experiences its results, practices the path, and attains awakening. Yay! And it does all of these without existing under its own power. Without existing under its own power. This sense of I is a valid innate conception. Fine. On its basis, we seek happiness and not suffering. Fine. This valid sense of I is not the object of negation. He pounds the table and screams. And negating it would lead to the extreme of nihilism or nihilism. Grasping the reified I is the troublemaker, making it a solid thing. And its conceived object is the object of negation. Identifying it takes time and finesse. I like the word finesse. Of course, I don't do any of these things, so I'm just I'm reading from the book. Don't mistake that. I know some of this stuff. Anyway, very interesting. This is a bomb, this little section. Only His Holiness can express himself this way, I find. So he's giving you some things to think about, like a little quiz at the end of the chapter, end of the section. Number one, what are objects negated by the path and objects negated by reasoning? We talked about it. What do you get rid of by the path and what are by reasoning? You can think of that. And secondly, why is correctly identifying the object of negation important in order to realize emptiness? No looking at anyone else's mind or paper. Please hand in your papers in 15 minutes. These are little tips for meditating. Or going back on the text, always asking this. Let me go back because I really understand that. The end of each section, he has these things called reflections. They're quiz-like and they're also like ideas for meditation. So let's see what time we have. We will move on. 7:41. We got a little time. What is not the object of negation? And he quotes Arya Davis 400. If things existed inherently, what good is it to perceive emptiness? If they really did exist, why perceive? Seeing by way of conceptions binds. This is refuted here. A little tricky, a little cryptic. Here's the explanation. The first two lines warn that if phenomena existed inherently, inherent existence would be the nature of phenomena and would not be refuted. In that case, emptiness could not be realized. Conceptions, in the line that says seeing by way of conception binds, conceptions refers to conceptions of inherent existence that superimpose existence from their own side onto persons and phenomena. We imagine they exist that way, coming out at us. Of the three types of phenomena, evident, slightly obscure, and very obscure, emptiness is a slightly obscure phenomenon. In other words, you can get at it with reasoning. You can't get at it with the senses like evident, but you can get at it with simple reasoning. The very obscure you can only get at with yogic perception. Ordinary beings cannot initially directly apprehend slightly obscure phenomena with their sense consciousness. They can initially be known only through reasoning by means of an inference, only after correctly ascertaining the emptiness of true existence conceptually, and then repeatedly meditating on it until the conceptual appearance of emptiness is worn away, can ordinary beings realize emptiness directly and become Aryas. You meditate on that, you hit it with one point in mind and stay on it, and then it appears to you, non-conceptually. If all conceptual consciousnesses, even inferences that are correct conceptions of emptiness, were erroneous, then teachers and students could not use conceptual consciousnesses to teach and listen to explanations on emptiness. Cultivating the correct view of emptiness would then be impossible. So it is necessary to use conception. So what we'll do now very quickly is put the 11th chapter to bed. We have like 5-6 minutes. Yeah. So we can start fresh with the 12th chapter. And again, next Wednesday night's class will be prior to His Holiness's big final initiation presentation. So we'll go light on the topics. Bottom of page 152, Lam Rim 3. The Master Buddha Pilot also gives an answer that clearly distinguishes existence from essential existence. Buddha Pilot's commentary on the Nagarjuna's fundamental treatise says, and here's the objection. Objection. If time does not exist and causes and effect of and collections of causes and conditions do not exist, then what else could exist? They're saying. Therefore, the Madhyamaka position is simply a nihilistic argument. The answer comes back from the Madhyamikas, and you know what it is. You cheated, you looked. Replied, is not so. It is utterly impossible for time and such to be exist essentially as you imagine. No, time is a dependent, conceptual creation. However, they are established as dependent designations. They are there that way. A mental construct. Time is a mental construct. That's the slick way of saying it these days. Thus, he refutes this, Tsong-kha-pa says, saying that it is impossible for there to be essential existence as the essentialists claim. He also says that dependent arisings exist. They are established as dependent designations. Thus, you will overcome countless wrong ideas if you distinguish intrinsic existence and the absence of intrinsic existence from existence and non-existence. Same argument. Moreover, you will not mistake the arguments refuting intrinsic existence for refutations of existence itself. Therefore, since the main answers that Madhyamikas give to scholars who are essentialists proceed from this set of distinctions, I've given a bit of an explanation. Geshe Soba will comment on the same thing, just so it cements it in our minds. We got 4 minutes, so we can take our time. Same thing, if time doesn't exist, a different translation, then causes, results, and collections of aggregates do not also exist, then what is there? That is your view? You're a nihilist. Blah, blah, blah. The answer, no, we don't say that. We only say that your conceptions of time and so forth and so on are as inherently existent is wrong. They are established as dependently imputed. Geshe Sopa now explains. The Madhyamikas do not say that the realists are wrong about the existence of causes and effect. The Madhyamikas do not deny causality, but they do reject inherent existence of causes and effects. Things such as time and so on are dependently imputed. They exist in dependence on being labeled or named. They dependently arise. They do not inherently exist. It is in this regard that they say the realists are incorrect. The realists, including, and now he goes to the lower Buddhist schools, Vaibhashikas, Sotantras, Yogacaras, and various non-Buddhists, agree that the Madhyamikas are nihilists and contradict reasoning as well as scripture. According to Tsong-kha-pa, the realist contentions stem from not properly distinguishing inherent existence and the absence of inherent existence from existence and non-existence. Same argument. Much confusion and many wrong views will be eliminated if we clearly distinguish between inherently existent and existent, as well as between non-existent and non-inherently existent. We will no longer think that the Madhyamika's logical refutation of inherent existence negates mere existence. We won't take it to the extreme. Because understanding these differences is so important, Tsong-kha-pa explains it in great detail, supporting his reasons with quotations from the texts of Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, Buddha Palada, and Chandrakirti. What a starting line of that is, eh? Tsong-kha-pa does not merely cite one passage. He goes through many commentaries, page by page, explaining different aspects of the same point. Hard worker. Nowadays, this may seem easy to understand. You may feel bored going over these points again and again. Well, yeah, no, we're not bored, no. We are. But it was not easy to understand in the past. Until Tsong-kha-pa wrote his treatises, the Prasangika view was not understood in Tibet. Svatantrika Madhyamika, the view of Shantarakshita and Kamalashila, was well established, but the unique Prasangika view of Nagarjuna and Aryadeva was never properly explained. The quotation of so many passages from the Indian sources demonstrates that Tsong-kha-pa is not presenting his own personal view. He is expounding Prasangika view. He shows that this special Prasangika explanation is found in the two texts of Nagarjuna as well as in the commentaries by Buddhapala and Chandrakirti, authentic sources. So that ends chapter 11. We are no longer in bankruptcy. Yay! What good does that do? We're not in spiritual bankruptcy, never. Not when we have the Dharma. So let's see for whom we will pray. Mark is giving a propounding something. Mark is pontificating. With others, even better to be a formal. Stop with this debate. When you go to debate, you better be prepared, though. What is the difference between emptiness and interdependent origin? They are the same. Who are we praying for? Nobody mentioned. Okay. Well, all the people who have left their lives on the ground in Ukraine, victims of crime. It's always plenty of people to pray for. Those recently died or whatever. The Sutra of the Recollection of the Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The Holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pity. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So, as a further cause, as we do every time we meet, for the quick return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche, His Holiness Dalai Lama recommends that we say this prayer for the flourishing of J. Tsong-kha-pa's teachings, which I know is on the website in the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayer. Though he is the father, producer of all conquerors, as a conqueror's son, he produced the thought of upholding the conqueror's dharma in infinite worlds. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. When of yore in the presence of Buddha Indraketu, he made his vow, the conqueror and his offspring praised his powerful courage. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. That the lineage of pure view and conduct might spread, he offered a white crystal rosary to the sage, who gave him a conch and prophesied. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. His pure view free of eternity or destruction. His pure meditation cleansed of dark fading and fog. His pure conduct practiced according to the conqueror's orders. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Learned, since he extensively sought out learning, reverently, rightly applying it to himself, good, dedicating all for beings in the doctrine, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Through being sure that all scriptures, definitive and interpretive, were without contradiction, advice for one person's practice, he stopped all misconduct. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Listening to explanation of the three Pitakas, realized teachings, practice of the three trainings, his skilled and accomplished life story is amazing. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Outwardly calmed and subdued by the hearer's conduct, inwardly trusting in the two stages practice, he allied without clash the good paths of Sutra and Tantra. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Combining voidness explained as the causal vehicle, with great bliss achieved by method, the effect vehicle. Heart essence of 80,000 Dharma bundles, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. By the power of the ocean of oath-bound, doctrine protectors, like the main guardians of the three beings' paths, the quick-acting Lord, which is Mahakala, Vaishravana, Karmayama, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. In short, by the lasting of glorious Guru's lives, by the earth being full of good, learned, reverent holders of the teachings, and by the increase of power of its patrons, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Again, don't forget His Holiness tonight. Tonight's the birth stories of the Buddha, and usually when His Holiness goes on, he always speaks about the situation of the world and the necessity of warm-heartedness and all that stuff. That alone is worth the price of admission. So. And there is no price of admission. It's just your time well spent. So next we have 8 verses on training the mind. This, I don't know if it's on the website. Now, someone checked because one guy said it's not on the website. Someone else said it was. I'll look into it, and in a day or so it will be on the website. Darren will help me. So, with the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. So in addition to His Holiness's teachings, the next 3 nights, the next Dharma class here at the Tibet Center will be a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, preceding His Holiness's teachings, and it will be from the parsonage on Ridgewood Road in South Orange, New Jersey. All are invited to attend. but you got to run home fast or else watch the initiation on your phone. So, if you have to make a distinction between heading to class, seeing His Holiness, stay home. You can watch this online. Don't miss His Holiness's, especially the last day. It's very, very important. I mean, just to meet that once in your life is a big deal. It really is a big deal. We also have this Saturday, White Tara at 1 o'clock. So that would be what? The 11th, Saturday the 11th at 1 o'clock. It's South Orange, New Jersey. All are welcome. It starts at 1. It ends around 2 o'clock. There's a refreshment and lunch hour, and then a half hour of silence, and then horsing around the dessert until it's time to go home. It's up to you. We also have now all 5 volumes of Geshe Sopa's Lamrim. In fact, we have 2 of the first volumes, so we're well stocked. So if you want to spend time at the Tibet Center, go up to the second floor library and give yourself a little refreshment, literary refreshment. Anyway, thank you so much for your kind patience. Be grateful we met the Dharma. Big love to all of you.